Chapter 10. The Monstrosities. Although they had switched off their air supplies, they kept on the headgear so they could communicate over the hydrophones, for the roar of the water in the tunnel made normal exchange of words difficult.
No shooting unless we have to. These creatures, if there are more than one, may be friendly.
Sure, some might a giant squid if you knew the right way to stroke them. Guess you can't go by looks, Troy, but
I can see more tracks. Stay alert in case it's an ambush.
Troy raised his gun. No sound other than the ceaseless roar of the water came from the darkness. Nothing appeared in the beam of his lamp but the narrow strip of beach. Presently, he saw that the ceiling of the tunnel was getting lower. Then it dipped abruptly to the turbulent water. He stopped and signed to the others. He, Phones, and Atlanta adjusted their masks and put on their flippers. He walked into the water. It plucked at him angrily, almost sweeping him off his feet. It was deep, maybe 20 feet, and very cold to his bare hands, like the water of a glacier stream. The bottom was smooth, bare rock, scoured by the torrents of ages. He began to swim. 100 yards or so further on, the tunnel widened, but the flow of water was still great enough to fill it to the ceiling. How long they were swimming, Troy didn't know, but he was beginning to tire a little, when at last his lamp showed that the roof of the tunnel was lifting. Presently, he was able to surface, and again he saw the gleam of white beaches flanking the river ahead.
No sense wasting our strength swimming against the current.
Sure, we don't know when we'll need it.
Okay, switch out your lamps. Follow me.
The tunnel was widening rapidly now, and, as they turned a bend, Troy saw a faint glow some distance ahead. In the darkness, the glow seemed to brighten. It was like phosphorescence. In its eerie light, he could see that the tunnel opened into another vast cavern. But this was not filled with water as the others had been. The river appeared to run right through it, from the gloom on the far side.
Stay here. I'll reconnoiter.
He moved on cautiously towards the mouth of the tunnel and crouched behind a jumble of boulders and rubble, which partly blocked the beach. The eerie glow came from a small luminous cloud that seemed to be floating up against the high roof. It had a pale violet tinge, and he thought of that ray that had hypnotized him. He surveyed the cavern. In the eerie light, he could see it was vast, far bigger than the one where he had left Stingray. The rock floor sloped up gradually, like the floor of a valley on either side of the river, towards sheer faces of dark, slick stone. The cliff tops were lost in gloom, where the light from the luminous cloud did not reach. Between the river and the cliffs, stalactites and stalagmites reached out towards each other from the ceiling and floor, looking like pale, violet-tinted teeth in the jaws of a monstrous mouth. There was no sign of life, unless, he thought, with an uneasy glance at it, that strange luminous cloud up there was some alien form of life. Luminous fungi grew in deep caverns, and the sunless deeps of the oceans had given birth to weird creatures that carried their own electrically charged lights. Nothing, he felt, was impossible after the wonders he had seen while in the Wasps. He turned and flashed his lamp as a signal for the others to join him. As they emerged into the otherworldly glow, he thought that Phones and Atlanta looked like weird forms of life themselves, with their swim gear, masks, and the crude force screens that Phones had fashioned. Only Marina looked like a normal human being, and yet he knew she was just as fantastic a being as any he had met, with her ability to live deep in the oceans like a fish.
Sure, anything's possible.
Is that thing up there alive?
I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. If it is, I'm wondering if a gun would be of any use against it.
Any sign of that horror I saw back in the lake?
Haven't seen any.
What now, Skipper?
Guess we'll follow the river as far as we can. Maybe it'll lead us to the Lake of Avernus that Pharassalon wrote about. That's our main assignment, Phones.
I've still got a hunch it could be the lake back where Stingray is. But, well, you're the boss, Troy. Let's go. I'm sort of curious to find out where it leads anyway.
Troy gripped his atomic gun tightly, glad of the sense of security it gave him. There was something about this cavern, something he couldn't define, but he had a sense of lurking evil, and he knew the others were aware of it too. He felt he was being watched, and involuntarily, his eyes went again and again to that eerie, luminous cloud high above them. Was it just his imagination, or was it moving with them?
Troy, I've got an awful feeling we're being spied on.
Same here, Atlanta. I think it's that thing up there. Maybe it's some sort of intelligence.
No, Troy, not from up there. I feel there's someone following us.
You feel the same way?
I've felt spooky ever since we left Stingray. I always reckoned it took plenty to scare me, but...
Maybe you'd rather turn back.
No, I said we'd see this through together. Lead on.
Don't worry. If you're scared, you're in good company right now.
Oh, you could sure say that again.
What's wrong?
I knew it. I wasn't mistaken. I'm sure I saw something slip behind those rocks, Troy.
Like what?
Like a man or
That thing you saw back there in the lake?
Guess so. I feel it's been stalking us ever since we came out of the tunnel.
Staring at the rocks that Atlanta had indicated, the huddled team were ready to spring into action. Nothing moved. The only sound in that weird underground world was the gurgling of the river below them. Had Atlanta imagined it? Troy wondered. Was the strain of this nightmarish trek through the underworld beginning to tell on her?
Let me take a crack at those rocks. If anything's skulking there, I might flush it into the open.
No, we don't want to start anything unless we have to. It might be harmless, just as curious as we'd be if strange creatures invaded our backyard.
Some backyard. But it's keeping the river between us and it anyway. Guess that's something to be grateful for. If it's like the thing Atlanta saw in the lake. There it goes.
Troy saw something in that unsettling light that looked like a gorilla. It was shambling from behind the rocks, making for another hiding spot further along the bank, as if it were trying to keep pace with them. But it was impossible to see its face. When the creature had gone to ground behind the rock pile, Troy caught Atlanta's arm.
Come on, let's get out of here. Maybe once we're through the cavern, it won't follow us. Marina, what?
Just take a look behind you.
Emerging from among the rocks on their side of the river were bizarre figures, like the one they had glimpsed on the other bank. Now he could see them at closer range. Troy realized why Atlanta had been so terrified by that face that had peered into Stingray at her. These creatures were like something out of a nightmare. They were big as fully grown gorillas, with pale shaggy hides that looked pinkish in the light from the iridescent cloud. They had thick limbs with webbed, four-toed feet and webbed claws that reminded Troy of aquamphibian hands. But it was in their faces that the real horror lay. Shaggy hair fell over them, and through this glared big, cold eyes, spaced widely above a thick snout of a nose that ended bluntly like a pig's. Below the snout, long whiskers bushed out, like those of some jungle cat, around a great gash of a mouth, from which saber-sharp canine teeth protruded over the pendulous, fleshy lower lip. There was something vaguely familiar about those faces, obscenely horrific as they were.
Great Neptune! What are they?
There must be a dozen.
Any chance of swimming for it?
They can swim.
Shall I fire just to warn them off, Troy?
No, make a dash for the cleft in that rock. We'll hole up there and try to parlay. If it's no use... Now!
As he scrambled behind the rocks after the women, Troy saw for the first time that one of the creatures was marked out slightly from the others. It was moving ahead of them, as if leading them, and it carried some kind of a weapon, not unlike a short ray gun. About its huge, grotesque head, just above the eyes and almost hidden in the shaggy hair, was a band of some dull, gleaming metal. Troy fought back his horror and raised his hand palm outwards, hoping that if these creatures were intelligent enough to make a weapon, they would interpret his sign as one of peace.
Troy, are you all right?
Guess so. That light, just like in the blizzard.
Your head, it was all glowing, kind of purplish.
Phones' force screen was doing its job. Must have been a hypnotic beam that creature fired at me.
Their leader looked pretty amazed, like he didn't know why it had no effect.
Doesn't look intelligent enough to invent a ray like that. I wonder.
They're charging us, Troy. Do we shoot?
Guess there's nothing for it, Phones. But I'll try to wing their leader with a harpoon first. Maybe that'll discourage the others and give us a chance to make a break for it.
The shambling leader was barely 20 feet away now. Troy snatched Atlanta's harpoon gun and aimed it at the creature's massive, hairy right leg. And then another ray stabbed down from above, a deep red pencil ray. It struck the tip of the harpoon gun as Troy was about to fire, shriveling it like a piece of celluloid in a match flame. Troy felt a tingling shock and dropped the weapon, watching incredulously as the toughened metal flared like a magnesium strip. He looked up and saw that the red ray was coming from the luminous cloud floating high above them. Phones recovered from his shock and raised his atomic gun, sighting it on the cloud. Like a lightning flash, a greenish ray stabbed down, striking Phones on the shoulder and bathing him in a hideous green glow. The gun dropped from his nerveless hands, and he stood there as if turned to stone.
Phones!
He is not dead, Earthman. He is paralyzed. Now perhaps you will realize you are powerless to resist.
The next moment, the hideous, shaggy creatures were upon them. In the darkness of the subterranean lake where Stingray lay, 3 mechanical fish surfaced and came to rest some yards away. Sinister green faces peered out at the wasp vessel.
Well, slave, what have you to report?
Almighty One, we are in a lake in the heart of the continent of ice. Stingray is here. There is no one in it. It is unguarded. Shall we destroy it?
Where is Tempest?
We do not yet know, Master. But a river flows into the lake. Perhaps he has gone up it.
2 of you follow him. The others remain to keep the vessels manned. I want Tempest and his crew alive, if possible. But at all costs, he must never return to Marineville alive. Fail me at your peril.
We will not fail you, mighty Titan.